once again, talking about words and context and what things mean in context, this came across my feed and I thought it was interesting and I thought we'd have a conversation about it. Who do you pick, your spouse or your child? Who comes first?
Y'all both sound dumb as
No, we don't.
You pick your child over your spouse every single time.
If there's a plate of food,
Bro, if both of them are hanging off the side of a cliff, I'm picking my child before I pick up my spouse every single time.
I'm not doing that.
I'm picking my okay.
I'm not doing that.
All right, next topic. No, because I'm starting to get annoyed.
But you're talking. Okay, the thing is, you're looking from a personal aspect of you have your son solo. That's what I'm trying to tell you. You're not going to see my perspective because you're not married.
And
You've never been married.
Neither have you.
I haven't, but guess what? I don't have a child either. And because of that, my mindset is okay with saying I could choose my spouse first before my kid. You only have a son. You don't have a spouse. If you were married to your baby mother before having a child and you built that relationship in that core, you wouldn't think the same way. You think the same way because your son is all you have.
That's all I need.
Right. But if you were married and with a woman, you wouldn't think that way. You think that's my best friend. I don't want to lose my best friend over anything. You can make another child. You can make another baby.
You pick your child before your spouse, bro.
No, you don't. You picked the person that you said before God that's what I want to be for the rest of my life. Life, death, do us part in sickness and in health. You didn't make that commitment with your child. You committed to feed your child.
I'm telling you right now, I hear what you're saying.
You're not.
I do hear what you're saying because you are. Don't get me wrong.
Ask the comments.
I hear what you're saying. 100%. I hear what you're saying. However, I'm still picking my child every single time.
But that's the issue that we're having with the world right now.
Because a lot of times, let me be honest. A lot of times, Phil, this is not a shot at your marriage either. A lot of times, a lot of people's marriages are conditional love.
Right, and
my child is unconditional love no matter what.
Right.
So I'm picking my child every time over another person.
When your child hits 13 and they're grown, there will be conditions. You might.
The only time I'm not picking my child is if he does something out of pocket, like kill somebody.
There's parents who still will pick their children when they do stuff like that. They're gonna love them no matter what. They do. That don't mean about the kids. Kids will sometimes be like, my dad was this, my mom was this, and I'm leaving home and I'm never coming back.
But you just said something that agrees with my point. Some parents still pick their child even when their child do crazy ass. They're not picking their spouse if their spouse does crazy ass. So both of y'all.
Okay. Well, this is just the first part. On this first part, things that stood out to me. One, he said, all I need is my kid. You don't even need that. You don't need your partner. You don't need your kid. Okay? You have a relationship with them. It's beautiful. It's unconditional love. It's whatever you want to say it is. Okay? But you don't need them. You exist in a world where you have them and you have a connection with them. But your child is not obligated to have you in their life forever, and you're not obligated to know your child forever. But in an ideal world, you will have a healthy bond, which will keep you close to each other as you age. Okay. 2, this idea that like you can make another kid, you can't make another spouse. First of all, you absolutely can find another person to fall in love with. Second of all, this goes down to the responsibility you have in a relationship. So again, there is a difference between ending up with somebody who's not your high compatibility partner, somebody you're not doing life with, and then making a baby. And the dilemma is not enough people are with their high compatibility partners. So it's really hard for us to have this conversation. So since I am with mine, I will give you our answer to this conversation because we've had it many, many times. Especially as we were courting and getting to know each other, we had conversations about what if my life was in danger during pregnancy? What if it was my child versus us? Like, what would we do? So here are the conclusions we came to as a unit. And just to give you an idea, we are high compatibility partners. This is the human being I'm doing life with. There's unconditional love here. I will love them no matter what they do, but loving them does not always mean that regardless of what they do, doesn't mean we won't end up going our separate ways. My love for them will not change no matter what they do, but the contingency in which we stay married or partnered might change based off of abuse if there ever is abuse in this relationship. So that's first and foremost. Same with my kid. I unconditionally love my kid, but that doesn't mean I'm always going to have my kid in my life if they do horrible things and there's no reconciliation abilities there, right? Okay. It's very contextual. Every situation needs its specialized care. Okay. My partner and I came to the conclusion that should I get pregnant and it's my life or the baby's, pick me. Because the baby's not here yet in a full way. we can, yes, make another baby, but more than that, that baby isn't quite here yet in that way. The baby doesn't know its loss of life. I will know my loss of life. My partner will know my loss of life. If we lose the baby, it will be sad. We will mourn that baby's life, but it will not be the same kind of mourning as losing me. It will be very different. So we save me. Okay. If we're in a situation in which it is a cliff, like their scenario was, and it's me hanging off the cliff or my baby, okay, our baby, we're saving the baby. Because I'm not going to look at you the same if you picked me and let our baby fall to its death. Okay, same thing. If it's my partner on a cliff or my baby, I pick the baby. Okay, because the one, I will be able to lift the baby better anyways. Pull that baby up. You know what I mean? Pull my partner up. And that's what we've made the decision. If we were ever in a boat situation and it was like, who do we save? We prioritize the baby's life over our life. Is this Tarzan and the cheetahs in our tent? Okay. If the cheetah's in our treehouse, who are we saving? Obviously Tarzan. Okay. What do we do? Throw the baby out the window and let the cheetah eat it? No. Jaguar? I think it was a jaguar. Are we gonna let the jaguar eat the baby? No. Okay, crazy. Okay, so obviously that's that situation. What happens though, and what realistically is going on, is you are making babies and settling in relationships in which they are not your high compatibility partners. So these conversations become very muddled because it becomes like, why would I choose this woman who betrayed me or this man who betrayed me over my child? But the truth is that your child also has the right to grow up and not want a relationship with you. Ideally, they would want one with you, but they're also not obligated to have one with you either. Your child's a whole ass person. So when he says, all I need is my child, that's not giving the baby an opportunity to grow into an adult that wants a different kind of relationship with their parents. Like, I don't need my parents. I love my parents unconditionally, but I don't need them. I don't need them. To be fair, I love my partner unconditionally, but I don't really need them either. Need is just, it doesn't make sense to me. Need for what? Want? Desire? Love? Sure. Need for what? Okay. That's part one, right? Okay. Here's part two.
What I said was, if you get married to a person first and then have a child, your mindset's not the same. You're going to pick your spouse and your person first. When you do what you're doing, which is a lot of single parents out there, is that now they're in the dating world trying to find someone else to marry, and they're not going to put that new married person over that child. It messes up the system because then it's weird.
System.
I have a child with another woman that's my side. I'm not going to put him
behind you.
You're here second to give a plate out. I'm giving the plate to my wife first.
I would do the same.
So then what are you saying? No, what are you saying? It doesn't mean my kids aren't going to get a plate, but my wife's going to get the plate first. It doesn't mean my kids aren't going to get my love, but my wife's going to get my love first. She's going to get it number one every time.
Okay. In my household, the Syrian households growing up, the grandparents, like the old people and the kids were fed first. The vulnerable were fed first. That's how it works. The vulnerable are fed first. Okay. And then the secondary. My dad and mom obviously made sure all the kids were fed before feeding themselves. Because that's your goddamn job. Your job as the adult is to feed the kids first. So this is not the bubble I grew up in. The bubble I grew up in is you feed the elderly and the children first. Period. You know what I'm saying? So like, this whole conversation is so funny. Now, I will say, I also grew up in a household that said God first, mom first, then you. God first, dad first, then you. And I will say, I am doing life with my partner. I'm not doing life with my kids. So if I had a kid, my job as a parent is to make them independent and a whole human being to the best of my ability, to give them tools to not need me, but to want me as their mother, but not need me. My job as a parent is to give my kids as many tools. Now, of course, I might be in a situation where my kid does need full-time care, does need me full-time. That's okay. I'm here for you. Because that's a different kind of need. That's a outside of their choice need. And then in that point, I'm here for you, right? But my job is, if my child is not in that position and will grow up to be a person who can function alone and independent of me, then I want to give them that option because I think that will best serve them in my marriage, obviously. And therefore, the priority of that is the underlining obvious that my marriage comes first. But my marriage does not come first at the expense of my child, and my child does not come first at the expense of my marriage. And that's exactly it with everything I do in my life. Me, but not at the expense of my marriage, but not at the expense of me. My family, not at the expense of my marriage, not at the expense of my family. My child, but not at the expense of my spouse, but not at the expense of my child. Okay, my job, but not at the expense of my marriage, but not at the expense of my job. I rarely see people have this conversation. I really think I'm the only one out here right now that I've seen having this conversation in this way. And I'm sure other people are doing it, you know what I mean? But this whole conversation about who gets a plate of food first, hello, please lock in. These children did not choose to be here. They did not choose to exist in this way. Help them. Now, we also assume by the word child, we mean young child. So obviously, if you're teenagers and stuff, you get to serve yourself. If you're tall enough to see over the counter where all the food is, then you're tall enough to serve yourself. So obviously, once my child is, 14, 11, 10, I don't know how tall they are. Once they're tall enough to see over the counter, they can serve themselves. I trust them as long as they're clean. Because also, okay, here's another thing. This is a tangent, but a caveat. But listen, people who let their kids help cook the food, I'm sorry. Are your kids filthy? My dad always was suspicious of children helping cook dinner because kids are disgusting. Wiping their snot, picking their noses, spitting in the food. So my kid also has to be old enough to touch the food and keep it clean for the guest after them. So also you can't touch the food unless you're grown enough. Okay? And same thing with like vulnerable people. If you're vulnerable and older, you also can't, it's okay. I got you, grandma. Let me serve you. Sit down. Let me serve you. Okay, so again, this comes into, all of this has to be within context, within reason. Okay, now this TikTok group is called Fupa's Flapjacks, and I think they go by F and F, which looks like Fresh and Fit, but it's not Fresh and Fit. So I think that's a little bit funny. But here they did a follow-up video, so let's watch this. Okay.
Here's the thing, right? So y'all, so I'm Trey. I'm one of the co-hosts of Fupas and Flapjacks. Here's the thing, right?
Hold on. So this is the one who is saying, I'm going to serve my person over the kid. Also, I love that he recorded this, burped twice into my mic and came back. Is this ASMR? Did I pay for your OnlyFans? You could have redone the shot. Peace and love. Peace and love.
Situation is super, whenever we talk about this, we bring up the cliff and whoever, it's super over-exaggerated, right? Here's the thing that I want people to understand, and even you to understand. When I say you put your wife first, to me, that means my love, my affection, who I continue to build, grow, get to know is my wife first.
Pause. I don't know. Maybe it's just like my ability. This is why I was so good at poly when I was poly. Can you just love your kids and your spouse at the same time? Can we not multitask? Can you not go down on her and flick her clit at the same time, bro? You need to do one or the other? Can you not do two things at once? You know what I mean? This whole idea of like, my wife gets my love first. I don't know why. My nieces and nephews do not get my love second to my husband. I love them all, just different. But it's not second. You know what I mean? Like love is not hierarchical. Time spent, duty to, obligation, sure, but barely. Love is the same.
I believe that if you show your kids how to take care of your significant other and how to love, when they get older and they have a spouse or a relationship, they know how to do the same thing. It does not mean you neglect your kids. It does not mean you don't feed your kids.
Oh, but in the way you do it can become neglect. So the question I have for him is, how does he know he's not neglecting? Because yes, you are showing how to love your spouse, but you're also showing how to neglect your kids. The best way to love your spouse is also to love their children. The way I feel love for my partner, the way he takes care of Indiana Jones. My cat was in my life for a decade before my partner met her, and my partner takes care of Indiana Jones like she's our baby, and it makes me love him harder and better every day. The way you treat my kids will matter to me. The way you show affection to my children will matter to me. And if you pick me over my kids, the vulnerable, we're going to have conversations, you know?
It don't mean you don't take them to practice. It don't mean you don't talk to them. It don't mean you don't engage with them and see how they're feeling and see how they're developing. But it does mean that my wife comes first. When I come home, I initiate love with my wife. I kiss, hug my wife first.
See, that's crazy to me. So you come up the driveway and your kid goes, daddy, daddy. And you're like, fuck off, yeetus la fetus. Where's your mom? Or do you pick your kid up and say, hi, I'm back from work. I love you so much. Please be so fucking for real right now. And I say this as a person whose father came home. Whoever first initiated got initiation. What does that mean? Does that mean literally? Imagine your little kid walking up being like, daddy, daddy. And he's like, oh, boom. He's like, not right now. You know, could you imagine? Hug your kid, bro.
I check on my wife first and check on my kids next.
No, I know exactly this family structure. So dad walks in, the kid goes, hi, dad, can I tell you something? He goes, hold on, let me go see your mom first. No, it's silly. I've seen it. I've been in those people's homes. I think it's bullshit. I think it is setting up your kids to be neglectful parents because that sounds like neglect to me personally.
I think a lot of people think it's about neglect of the kids, and that's not where I'm coming from.
Even though that's not where he's coming from, and I believe him, I think that's the consequence. Especially if the kids are 3, 4, 5 years old, right? Chad said, mind you, he said he wasn't married and didn't have kids. Yeah, that's true too. So, but doesn't he remember being a kid? So that's what I want to ask him too. How were you raised, and what were you shown? Because I was raised by parents who were together, and my dad always greeted whoever came first and never made it a hierarchy. And even though my mom was always first, my dad, and in some ways it was bad, by the way, just so you know, in some ways it wasn't like this, but in the ways that it was bad. My dad should never sided with my mom when she was wrong about the kids. When my mom was wrong about us, my dad chose her because he chooses his spouse first, and he was wrong for doing that. He should have corrected her, and she should have corrected herself. My mom, when she chose my dad over us, was wrong. You were wrong. And you should have been able to face your kids and say, I was wrong. Let me redo that. Picking your spouse over your kids when you're wrong is bullshit. Picking your spouse over your kid who's like grown up to be a destructive human being, who wants to take all of your money and make your life miserable, fine. Right? Fine. But when we're talking about little kids living at home, you know what I mean? Like, I'll just tell you this right now. As a kid who was a kid and who had parents who kind of believed in this, it was good in some ways and bad in others. And the way in which it was bad, it should be redone. And in which ways it was good, like example, my partner before my family, my partner before my sister, but also don't make me pick. Okay, I do life with my partner first. We do finances, stability, longevity, retirement, all of this stuff, but yet don't make me pick. If my sister calls me in an emergency, I don't expect my partner to say, oh, but what about me? Are you in an emergency? She is, so I go help my sister. But if my sister wanted to talk to me every day, like example, she called me the other day, we're chit-chatting, we'd been talking for like an hour, and I said, I love you, I want to go watch anime with the wifey. Is this cool? Can we cut off here? She was like, yeah, go spend time with him. Like, obviously, go. How wonderful. I wish I had a hubby to spend anime time with. Go. And like, that's the thing. It's like, obviously, that's me saying this is our evening time together. We usually try to watch some shows before bed. I'm going to get going. And that's me saying I'm going to put priority over my marriage. But see how like I also check in with my sister, like, I love you. Is there anything else you want to tell me? Is there anything else important in this conversation I should know? She's like, no, I'm just, because we're just shooting the shit. So then I get off the phone and I go hang out with my partner. But if my kid, and look, this is another way. My parents always had a bedtime of 8 p.m. for the kids. And then the kids knew mom and dad time starts at 8 p.m. So it didn't have to be me or the kids. It was just a matter of like, even when it shouldn't have been, but it was like the kids knew 8 p.m. was our time to go to our rooms and the parents' time to be alone. And that helped as well. But if you pick your partner, again, you come home from work and you push your kid aside to greet your partner first, like, what does that mean? And what if your partner's taking a shit in the bathroom when you get home? Are you going to wait till they're done pooping before you say hi to your kids? It just doesn't make sense to me. Be realistic about how life works out. Where is the realism?
Neglecting the kids is not the case, but after them kids hit 18 and they go to college and they get married, they not thinking about you as much.
Okay, well then we're talking about grown-up kids. See, this is why words matter. Are you guys talking about 5-year-olds? Or are you talking about 22-year-olds? Sure, I agree that if you raise independent children who are self-sufficient, yeah, they shouldn't need you as much. That's the whole point. They shouldn't need you. I don't need my parents like that. Guys, I am at an age right now where obviously I miss my parents and I love them, but I don't need them. I don't need them for help. I don't need them for finances. I don't need them for knowledge. I don't need them for nothing. There's nothing my parents have that I need from them. In some ways, you could say they did their job. And in another way, you could just say they're bigoted people that are difficult to get along with because they are homophobic and transphobic and they voted for Trump. And therefore, it is not fun hanging out with them right now. But also, more than that, I really don't need them for anything. There's like nothing my parents know in terms of knowledge that I can't get from somebody else. So, you know, thanks for raising me to be an independent bad bitch, because I am. And it means I'm able to get resources from different places. I don't need them. But I did need them at some point as an adult. And now that I'm 36, I don't need them, you know?
And they're going to choose their spouse and choose the person they're going to be with. And after them 18 years, what did you do to continue?
He might also come from the bubble where it's like, once you turn 18, my job is done. I think your job is never done as a parent. But the responsibility and the way you do that job does change. So instead of being hands-on and in the factory, you're more like instead of boxing the products in the factory, you're more like on the floor watching it happen like a manager. So like if something goes wrong, someone comes to you. But otherwise, it's a smooth sailing machine. That's what I think a parent is. A parent is somebody who goes from boxing on the conveyor belt to rising up to managerial, who just is there if anything goes wrong, but doesn't do hands-on stuff anymore. But I think your job is never done as a parent.
To get to know and date your significant other who has grown over those 18 years. They're not the same person. Did you date them? Did you take care? Like, those are the things that people don't think about. And so people prioritize kids so much, and they don't prioritize the person that they said vows to, who they got married to, who they said, I want to be a partner for life. Your kid is not your partner for life. That is,
I agree with that. Your kid is definitely not your partner for life. And I do think parents who make their kids partners for life are suffering from like a deep, deep trauma, because how inappropriate is that to turn your kid into a spouse, right? Super inappropriate. It happens so much more often than you would think. And it's very, very bad. And I also think you just have to be careful with your language, because when your kids are kids and they're hearing you say it, it can be really hurtful. As a little kid, hearing my dad say he chose my mom over me felt very confusing. Because I'm like, yeah, but I'm like a kid, bro. I'm like literally a kid. And I didn't choose to be here. And I really need you right now. So in one side of your mouth, you're my protector. Another side of my mouth, you're going to abandon me for this woman? Now, I get it. This is my mother. So she's not just a woman. But also, and if you're in a bad marriage, see, the issue is here is, are you dealing with parents that are compatible? Are you dealing with parents that are like divorced? Are you dealing with parents that were never even married and they don't even like each other? Are you dealing with like, all of these things will change how the relationships end up coming about, right?
where the issue is with all relationships. I'm seeing people in the comments talk about you can just get another spouse. And that was never what marriage was for.
Oh, but having a kid is you could just have another kid? Look, it's heartless either way. It's callous either way to say, oh, you could just get another spouse or you could just get another kid. Both are fucked up things to say. Don't say either of them. That's so fucked up.
That's how people are treating relationships. Like, I throw this one away, get another one. I throw this one. That's not
He
how
said that about kids. He said that about literal children.
it is. It's the same thing for kids too. Like, you can make more kids, and I feel like, it's weird to say like I can just let that kid pass away and make more, but essentially you can. But the whole idea of the fact that you can just throw a spouse
So
away,
is he taking back what he said?
you can go and make promises and vows and just say, "Oh, I can just get another spouse," and make promise. It shows a lot about character and your morality. Your character tells me that you can't stand on your words. You can't stand 10 toes. Because what's the point, and I'm speaking from a Christian standpoint, what's the point of going to a church?
Boo. Boo. Christianity is a patriarchal system that I think does more harm than good. So I'm not a fan, but you do you.
Church, going up to God, the creator, and saying, I'm going to do this for my person, this for my person, and right for my person. And then just be able to throw them away. Like, we don't take relationships seriously anymore. And that's the problem. And so I'm saying,
He probably thinks you can eatus lapidus because, you know, God did that to Jesus. He sat there. He's like, hey, bro, they're going to crucify you, but it's all part of the plan. Just go with it.
people in the comments say stuff like that. And I'm just like, yeah, the situation's over exaggerated. But on a more like everyday type situation, like on an everyday sense, you go to work, she goes to work, kids are at school, you come home, your wife comes first. Your significant other comes first. You check on their well-being. The better you two are together, the better you can take care of the kids.
Sure. Some of this is correct and some of it's just wrong, but that's the problem with Christianity. Christianity has like little nuggets of wisdom, but most of it is just shit and you should throw it out. You know what I mean? This is the problem with Christianity. It's like, it's not consistent. It doesn't make sense. You know how Christians love to make fun of Muslims and say like, oh, Muslims are okay with child marriage. Mary was like 14, 15. What are we talking about? What are we talking about? And you know what's funny? I'll see Christian and Muslims fight about this. They'll be like, Joseph never touched Mary. She was a virgin till she died. And they'll be like, well, Muhammad didn't have all these wives. Actually, the 9-year-old he married, he didn't even touch her. All y'all sound stupid. Everybody sounds so stupid in this conversation. You were arguing about who treated their child brides with more dignity. Hello?
And that's just how I see it. If y'all don't see it that way, cool. But what I'm telling you,
But the question is like, who is the woman that would also follow suit with this? Because, you know, again, like my parents, God love them. I really saw a lot of the mistakes in them, quote, choosing each other over the kids in situations in which, again, they were wrong. They shouldn't have done that. You should be able to, you know what? You know what's funny? Is I brought that into my dating life because I'd get really annoyed when my dad wouldn't call out my mom when she was wrong. I'd get really annoyed when my mom wouldn't call out my dad when he was wrong. Like I'd get really annoyed with them. So I made sure that in my dating life, I would always call out my partners and they'd be like, hey, the way you call me out really hurts my feelings. And I was like, well, don't say stupid shit. Don't win stupid prizes. Okay? Like, you're really stupid. This is stupid. Say something smarter. And I could have said it nicer and I was young. Okay. So now it's more like I will check you, but not because I hate you, but because, you know, there is a difference between dating a person, you're looking for reasons to break up with them, and like being married. When I was in my 20s, I was like looking for reasons to break up with people because I was like, are you my person? Are you my person? But like, seriously, don't say stupid fucking shit, bigoted shit, ignorant shit, and then expect me to be all like excited about that. This is my partner representing me. This is my partner, the one I chose. I chose this. This is who I chose. The ignorant person in the group who says ignorant shit. You know what I mean? Like, gross. And that's why, like, when I'd see adults around me say some shit, I'm like, are you going to tell your husband to shut the fuck up? Are you tell your wife, like, to get it together? With nicer language. Choose whatever language works for your marriage. Obviously, I would never talk to my partner like that. But my married partner is different because when we're wrong about something, it's not a threat to our marriage or our ego or our intelligence. In this marriage, being wrong isn't bad. It's only bad if you double down on it. So like this marriage is easy. This relationship is easy because we never punish each other for being wrong. But in my past relationships, there was always a double down. There's always a double down. With my parents, I've seen them double down on being wrong. And I'm like, see? Even when I see them start to doubt each other, they go, no, I have to choose your mother. No, I have to choose your father. Okay? So yeah, with peace and love, use whatever language works for you and the person you're talking to. But at the end of the day, if we don't call people out in whatever way works for them to hear us, then we're not going to get better. And that includes your spouse.
if you neglect a relationship, you put them kids first in every situation, you will lose your spouse and you will be alone. People keep thinking that someone said,
this is so weird. The way they're talking about spouses and kids as if that spouse isn't also the parent to those kids. What does your spouse think about your relationship to those kids? You built a family, right? So it's just kind of interesting.
I just find out spouse. You think it's that easy to get married? You think quality people is that easy to find? Come on now.
And again, I don't know what he means by quality people. I don't know what he means by that structure. I don't know what he means in that regard. I'll link the video in the chat. You guys can check them out if you want. They just came across my feed. I don't know anything about these people, but from the videos I watched, and I did go on their TikTok and I watched a few videos, they just seem to be podcast bros that are trying to come up. But it's an interesting idea, right? Fupas and Flapjacks. It's a funny name. It looks like it's 3 people even. It's got 2 guys and a girl in the icon, but I just watched a few of their videos. So it's like, it's interesting, you know, either way, just to like see another way to have the conversation about spouse or kid. And it comes up, and every time it comes up, I always say the same thing. It's like such a, like, people don't understand that every situation requires a different reaction. You cannot have one rule fits every situation. You just can't. And so it's like, you know, do right by your kid and do right by your spouse. So again, your kid, but not at the expense of your spouse, but not at the expense of your kid.